I want to say too, if anybody has any questions, just ask, and feel free to ask questions while I'm turned around. Otherwise, I really will run out of things to say pretty quickly. So you're helping me if you can ask me some questions. So the way I always start, this is the way I always draw everything. The common pages. This will be a little bit bigger than it would normally work, and as a result, because we only have so much time, it's going to be a little bit looser than it would normally be for me. But I'll try and make it as clean and tight as I can. I always just start with the placement. I need to just get the figure on the page where I want it to be, and I don't want to worry about detail or worry about any kind of quality drawing at this point, because the most important thing is just getting the figure proportioned and where I want it to be on the page. So I start with the head, and I've learned, every art teacher will always tell you to start with the chest, because that's really the center of your mass. You do the chest, and then you do the pelvis, and your head, your arms, your legs all kind of come from that. But you do what works. So for me, I start with the head. And I guess it's because it's really the focal point of the figure. So I think the main reason I do that is when I started, I drew the chest first, and I would draw the chest, and it would all work. It was good, and then the head wouldn't work. And it was so much harder for me to erase and fix the head than it would be for me to fix everything. So anyway, there we go. I love Moon Knight because I love Batman, but Moon Knight is actually kind of more of a brutal character than Batman. He's a very, very angry character, so it's just a lot of fun to draw. So here's a hand. You can see it's just kind of like a block. I don't know if actually you can see this at all. Can anybody see this at all?
No.
But if I go darker, then I'll never be able to fix it. So.
Yeah.
So bear with me. This will be fast. And I'm sorry for covering it while I draw it. Yeah, we'll make it quick.
Will that sketch be raffled off later?
No comment.
It's for Jaime.
Okay. So once I kind of, this is my figure, which I know none of you can see, but I just like to go in, I've got an eye here and an eye here. He's not going to have a nose or a mouth because he's got the black, but in order for me to draw it properly, I need to at least know where they are. So I just kind of get my forms blocked in. This is all, seriously, for me, How to Draw Comics of Marvel Way by John Buscema. This is my whole basis for knowing how to draw. And really, it is by far and away the best book for how to draw comic books. And I work at DC now, so, still hype.
Yeah.
Your video was better.
Oh, wow, thanks. Okay. So now what I always do, I might actually put a little more detail into this, but I don't want to drive you guys nuts looking at a picture you can't see. So I always lighten it down. And I'm actually going to draw this picture with pen, because otherwise, even when I pencil darkly, I use a 2H pencil. This is a 2H drafting pencil, and it's a very, very hard lead. And I use it because I don't know if you can see, I've got lead on my hand just from what I'm doing. But if I use something softer, it
smudges.
Yeah, smudges all over the page. So I can get much more detail with this lead. So normally, what I always do, and I'm going to do it here because I don't want this picture to be terrible. I do this stage, and I erase it down, and then I do one more kind of a pass where I'll just go, okay, I know I've got this bone here, and this muscle's here, and I start just going in and refining where my muscles are broadly. Because not doing this, honestly, it just makes for a picture that's not as strong. So I want this to at least turn out to be not embarrassing. I can help it. So again, if anybody has any questions.
Problem later. Probably.
We're just excited. Excited to see it.
Okay. good enough. Go to bed. All right. Whenever I start going tightly, I think I'm not superstitious.
What?
I'm superstitious. Because I always start with this eye, not with the other one. I don't know. But I always do it the same way. And at this stage, it's always, I always basically draw a cartoon. So it's got no line weights, which I'll show you in a second what I mean, and it's got no shadowing. It's just me establishing where I want things to be, and it's gonna look kind of crappy when this part's finished. So, but again, I think the key for me, and well, really, the key to drawing a good comic book picture is to break it down into stages, because I think mentally you can only take in so much at once. You can't make all the proportions work when you're trying to work on a tiny little finger or whatever. So you want to, by the time you're detailing the finger, you want to know that that hand is in the right spot and it fits with everything else, and it's all proportions. And so it really helps to do things in the order that they should be done. So at this stage right now, what I'm doing is just getting all the things broadly kind of defined. And you'll notice it's a little loose right now. This is how I always do it. I have to be honest, when I'm penciling even for a comic, it can be a little bit loose because I still like to be able to keep it a little free and make mistakes here and there. And I mean, the nice thing about working in a pencil is I can erase it, which I can't do now, but I can actually fix up a whole lot with line weights. I didn't rough in his cape at all, really, but I've been doing this. This is 18 years now in the business for me, so wow. I feel pretty comfortable drawing a cape. But really, anything I find, I'm still uncomfortable drawing things, and if I'm uncomfortable, I go right back to the basics and just break it down stage by stage. And I never hit it like an artist block. People ask me that a lot, do you get artist block? And I never do, because I work in such a methodical way that, it really helps with that. So here's the shoulder. Go in here, it goes down into his chest. And I'm really quickly just gonna get his body defined in there. And hopefully you can see it a whole lot better now than it's
yes.
Does it feel like it's appearing out of thin air? There's nothing underneath. But trust me, I can see the whole figure under here.
David, on the average, how many pages do you finish per day?
Two. Okay.
Because it's so detailed, yeah.
You know what? I would say I finish 3 pages every 2 days is probably average. If things get tight, it's 2. I try actually to do 2 pages a day. A book for me right now is 20 pages. I do 2 covers a month.
Yeah.
Like this month I'm doing, I think, 5 covers.
Wow.
And I still have like things that I want to do on the side. Plus I've got kids, so I really need to just also I think I'm getting older. And,
it's not obvious.
I'm starting to value my time more, So I sit down, I just work, I have things that I want to get done, so I don't waste a lot of time. But yeah, most of my career I did 1 page a day. But now that I have kids, actually I was actually much slower than that for quite a while. But I was doing 3 pages a week even for a little while there. But now, yeah, I know that I get a certain amount of time that I can work during the day. And there are days when something will happen. Somebody will have a doctor's appointment, and I just lose that day. So, yeah, when I can, I really work. Also, I love my job more than I ever have before. Like, I've always loved my job, but I think it took me a while to really realize it's what I always want to do. So. Yeah.
In the normal situation, which usually happens, you create a character and then you develop a story around it, or there's a storyline and you just insert or develop the characters?
Well, obviously for, Batman or, Moon Knight, the characters are already established, but if I do something where, it has new characters, that kind of thing, for me, I always start with a visual theme. I think if I was a writer, I would be coming from a really different place, but as an artist, I think really visually, so I think, what kind of, I always think, I see the setting in my head first, and then I think what kind of characters would live in that setting, and it kind of grows from there, and then I try and think of a story that maybe would work for those characters. I've actually created, I did a book called Aphrodite 9. This is, 12 years ago, 13 years, a long time ago now. And that whole book, I created the characters. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and then we just shoehorned a story around the whole group. Probably not the best way, but. I guess ultimately, if you're going to create something, whatever, there are ways that you should do things, and then there's what works. So I just do what works for me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How much liberty do you have with regards to the layout of the page that you're drawing?
How much?
How much liberty do you have with regard to the layout of the page in the story?
Well, I'll get a script. Like an average page might have 4 to 5 panels. So let's say it has 5 panels. Generally, the writer, if I'm working with a writer who really knows what they're doing, they'll actually tell me what the important panels are. And really, I feel like I tell myself, but it's good to work with a writer who really knows that and understands the kind of, because the bigger the panel, the longer the beat. When you're telling a story, little thin panels, especially tall panels, will just move at a really quick kind of staccato pace, and then if you lengthen a panel out, it slows down your reading. And a good writer really knows how to use panel shapes and panel sizes to kind of to guide you through a comic to give you an experience. So, when a writer knows what they're doing with that, I don't mess with them. I really try and get that across. This stuff is important. So, but at the same time, I'd say where I take my biggest liberty is